Hello, so I'm going to do a quick college football recap kind of thing. I'm not going to cover all the games. I'm going to cover the two games one that I'm wearing a shirt for, and the other one that everyone is probably wondering, like, oh my god, I did not believe that happened. So I'm going to cover Florida first, and I'm going to get to the exciting stuff later. Florida lost 24-11 to Utah on Thursday, lost by 13. And I personally expected that loss. I was not expecting some sort of amazing win. I was sincerely hoping that they would score at least 21 points, but I thought that Utah would definitely pull away with like 38 or 42. And I probably would have been even more okay with that. I personally am very sad about this outcome, as many people are. First and foremost, Graham Mertz, I think, did actually pretty well stat line wise. But apparently I was not able to watch the game with my own eyes. I watched it through the stat line, and then I was watching this YouTuber named Uncle Lou. And apparently the offensive line for Florida was like garbage. And yeah, if that continues happening, I don't think Graham is going to do very well. I think Graham can actually be a really good QB. I think he's like a step below Bo Nix. I think he could be that type of quarterback. You just need to give him the offensive line he had at Wisconsin, and then the receivers of Oregon, and I think he'd be amazing. Because you saw in that Wisconsin 45-7 win, I think it was, against Illinois, I think 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, he was pretty good. So yeah, just give him that, and I think it'll be great. Anyway, the rushing for Florida, 25 yards, 7 carries for Trevor Etienne. Not amazing if you look at last year's rushing. This obviously, again, was probably primarily due to the offensive line, probably not doing very well as we all hoped they would. And then Ricky Pearsall was the highest receiving person, 405 receptions, 92 yards. The highlight of the receiving, however, was Douglas, who was from, I think, Missouri City, Texas. He had some really cool catches, and he mossed one of the Utah players, so that was really neat to see. I'd like to point out that Utah, I thought, would kind of blow it open after the third quarter, but they only scored 7 points. So I don't know if that's a credit to Florida's defense, or Utah taking their foot off the gas, or Utah not being as great as we thought they were, or whatever. But yeah. Yeah, not the start to a season you want. I might sound like someone who doesn't believe, but I was under the impression, even before the season started, that this was not going to go very well. But I did not expect a 13-point loss. But a 13-point loss is probably pretty good, because it probably could have been a lot worse. Anyway, the next game I want to talk about is everyone's favorite game. Today, it was Colorado played TCU, and Colorado won 45-42. Colorado is headed by Deion Sanders, and his son, Shedeur Sanders, is the quarterback. I would also like to say that I personally, before the season started, thought that I would have bet that Colorado would start at 3-0 and then lose the rest of their games. Not that I didn't necessarily believe in Colorado, but I was not entirely sure if the whole method of kicking everybody off the team, not necessarily kicking them off the team, but getting a whole new roster. And I was just under the impression of when you have a new head coach, historically it doesn't go so well their first year. And then pairing that with Shedeur Sanders, he was a good quarterback at Jackson State. But I was not sure how that would translate to the Power 5, because when these lower schools play these top schools, obviously there are some lower schools that beat some of the top schools, but those schools aren't top, if you know what I'm talking about. They're the ones that they beat are Boston College today. They lost to Northern Illinois by 3. So it's that type of stuff. But however, Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders, and Travis Hunter, and D. Edwards, and what's this kid's name? Savion Wilkerson. They decided to just fuck it up, and they did. Shedeur Sanders, 510 yards, 4 TDs, the most in Colorado history. Wilkerson, 13 carries, 45 yards and a touchdown. It doesn't sound amazing, but when you watch what he did, it was probably a lot better than what the stat line says. And then Edwards, 5 receptions, 135 yards and 3 TDs. Wild, man. Very happy they won. It's great that they won. I'm very excited to see what this team does in the future because I think their defense is only going to get better because Deion Sanders obviously knows how to coach. In terms of TCU, I don't know. I don't really know how to put this. TCU obviously is like a team that's like they were good last year, but that was such a one-hit wonder type of thing that it's like I cannot believe that we thought TCU would like be amazing again. Obviously the voters didn't because they put him at 17 and not like 5. So anyway, total yards for Colorado was 565 and the total yards for TCU for 541. 1 turnover for Colorado. And for the love of God, can we talk about Travis Hunter? That kid is great. I knew he was great when I watched him at Jackson State. I didn't watch every game. I watched the title game that they played in. And then I watched like some of the not the Jackson State game, the Southern game. Like he's really good. He's a great player. Cannot wait to see what he continues doing for the rest of the season. I am a little worried about playing both ways for him because he could run out his body, but maybe he takes care of it really well. I don't know. Maybe he's got juice. Who knows? But the kid's great. He played most snaps today, and he got an INT. He's just amazing. If they ever sell any Colorado jerseys with names on them, I will want his jersey and I will want Shedeur Sanders' jersey because those are some great players. And I'm glad I'm alive to see it. Let's try to get this video done in under 10 minutes. Anything else I want to say about the game? Oh, Shedeur Sanders, I think, could definitely win the Heisman. Before the season started, I was all on the Caleb Williams train. Not because I like the player, but because like USC's offense is tailored towards Heisman type shit. And I don't even know what their coach's name is anymore. But he just throws it everywhere. And I figured the more yards, the more impressive. Like USC is like, they're just gonna go all the way and he's gonna get the Heisman. After this performance, I think first of all, Colorado I think can only lose one more game, and then I think they could win the rest of their games. And I think they can beat USC. I think they're going to beat USC. I'll probably bet that they will beat USC. That's how much I believe in this team right now because that was a pretty good showing of sports and athleticism. And USC's defense seems to just fucking suck. Even though right now they're winning 42-7, if Deion Sanders gets his defense fixed, who knows, man. And I think the only loss that they would ever have this season would be to Oregon. Because I think Oregon's a lot better than a lot of people thought they would be. Or at least a lot of people who are half normies would think they would be. Because I honestly forgot that Bo Nix was there. I thought he left. Anyway, anything else I want to say about the game? Good job to Deion Sanders. He was able to turn that around. I started to wonder a little bit. I see as the press conference started going on about black coaches in college football. Now there are a number of them, but at this level, because all of the coaches for the Power 5, a majority of them are Caucasian, and that's totally fine. But it also speaks to, for Deion Sanders, how I think having a black head coach can have more talent come to you because they would believe in you, not just because you're black, but because there's this more familiarity with okay, this person's going to take care of my kid when I send my kid to that school. As Travis Hunter decided to go from FSU to Jackson State and then followed Deion from Jackson State to Colorado. And as you can see, it's paying dividends for both of them. So it'd be interesting to see. This is not some sort of call to have more black coaches, although that would be really cool. I don't really think it's going to be I don't think it's a necessity, but Obviously, you would need to be more qualified to do this type of job. But I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's a very interesting conversation to have that we'll probably have next time. Anyway, this is way over 10 minutes. I'm going to go. Good job, Colorado. Good job, Florida. No, not really. You lost. But I think you're going to win next time. Anyway, goodbye.